Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365. It is game week, everybody. It's Labor Day, and we don't care because it's game week here in Philadelphia. Eagles take on the Cowboys Thursday night. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother?
Doing well. Yeah, not Labor Day for us. NFL season, Super Bowl champions. That means you're starting on Thursday.
Absolutely.
So this is really on a regular game week. This would really be a Thursday.
Yeah,
from the preparation standpoint. So, sped up week for your Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be back on the field Thursday night.
John, you said it's like Thursday.
Cowboys.
You say it's like Thursday in a regular game week, man. We got to get caught up. We got to get up to speed. Where is this team? I know they practiced yesterday. You were down at the NovaCare for that. They're going to practice again today and tomorrow with a walkthrough on Wednesday. What do we know so far? Has anything changed on the game? Any injury updates? What do we have as far as updates and preparation for week one versus Dallas Cowboys?
Well, because of the NFL's janky rules, you don't get an injury report after a Sunday practice. So the first injury report, official injury report, will be today sometime. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be the injury reports this week. But we did get to see the opening moments of practice. The good news, Landon Dickerson, he's going to play. He's wearing a compression sleeve on his right leg, but he had practice last week, both practices. He practiced yesterday. I don't see any way that Landon Dickerson, barring another injury or an aggravation over the next couple of days, is not going to play week one. So that's a positive. Tanner McKee did not practice yesterday. So it's looking more and more. Did confirm that he fractured his thumb, which we knew on his right throwing hand, and the tip of it, not terribly serious, not surgical, no surgery needed. Obviously, they didn't place him on injured reserve, so they expect him back within that 4-game window. But looking more and more like Sam Howell's going to be the backup to Jalen Hurts versus the Cowboys on Thursday night. And then, if anybody's still worried about it, A.J. Brown's not talking. I think he said he's talking on Tuesday, tomorrow. But he did say basically that he's playing against the Cowboys. Just gave us a hell yeah, I think he said.
There you go. So good injury updates. John Landon coming back is really an amazing story for this team, but it's also big on the football field. A big plus to have him out there going up against the Cowboys team. Now the Cowboys front was significantly lessened this past week by trading away Micah Parsons, and they did add Kenny Clark. So maybe another addition there that you got a game plan for. But you did hear Jordan Mailata say, yeah, we've been game planning for that guy for 5 years, so it's nice that we don't have to. Maybe some bulletin board material for that Cowboys defensive line. But, John, what do you think of the matchup coming in? We're a couple days out. Injuries feel like they're pretty good for the Birds right now. What do you think of the matchup? How do these two teams match up on paper? You always tell me, John, styles make fights. What do you think of the style of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys just gave up their best player on the eve of the regular season. I don't think that's a positive. And I've talked about it over the years because I know Eagles fans, for obvious reasons, don't like Micah Parsons. But I always said you should hear the way the Eagles talk about Micah Parsons behind the scenes. And you got a little taste of that from Jordan Mailata. Obviously, Nick Sirianni, by the way, he's getting worse and worse. I'm sorry, Nick, but
with the speaking?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gotten better from their perspective.
Yeah, he's gotten better from their perspective. Yeah. No energy, no nothing. But anyway, I digress. But the way he talks about him behind the scenes is, he's one of those guys and he's gone. And it just, and I find it amusing, Jerry Jones's all his conflations with Herschel Walker and, well, we got to stop the run better. Stop it. You're just trying to put lipstick on a pig, so to speak, and how badly he bumbled that situation, even to the point that Deron Bland is the recipient of a giant extension because he wants to turn a little bit of the narrative around. But they're just an average team at this point. like I say with all NFL teams, yeah, of course they have good players. All NFL teams have good players, but this is not the Cowboys' talented team that was winning 13 games and people would really make fun of because they were expected to go far in the playoffs and then get blown out by Green Bay or something like that. This is not like that team. But, you do have to worry. Most notably, I would say the receivers, when you look at Lamb and George Pickens specifically, and you try to envision Adoree Jackson handling one of them for consistent snaps, that might keep you up at night. But
yeah, that does. That's what I was going to ask you about right after that question. Was the receivers? They obviously added George Pickens this year. Do you expect Quinion to travel in this game with CD? Probably not, right? Because CD spends a lot of time in the slot.
Because he plays in the slot a lot. So
which could work out. I mean, if you have Cooper DeJean up against CD, and then you can maybe allow Quinion to follow around Pickens when he's not in the slot or when CD's not in the slot.
Well, I thought Howie had an interesting answer to so many people, and I think so many people are describing cornerback as a weakness for the Eagles. I agree with Howie. I don't think it's a weakness at all, because you have the top two. Like how many teams have two corners like Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean? If they continue to play the way they played, and they look like that, if anything, they're going to get better. How many teams in the NFL have those? So I think there's a level of spoiledness, just how good the group was last year with
that's fair, but that doesn't mean that there's not a spot on the outside that quarterbacks could target and pick on.
No, and that's where Vic will come in, and he'll probably zone it up a lot, and you handle it that way. You're not going to see a lot of man to man with
no, if any.
Yeah. So my point is, it's not rare that you have to sort of mask the deficiency of a defender. So I don't think it's the end of the world, especially when you have a defensive coordinator who's probably better at that than most. Not probably, take probably out of that. So I don't think it's a concern. And then the offensive line, there's some talent on the Cowboys offensive line, but some younger guys, some guys are banged up. I don't know what to make of Tyler Booker. He's like a big bully, so I don't know how that's going to work out early in his career. And by the way, Zander, I'm going to take a shot at Alabama. My Lord.
Oh, my.
They aren't Nick Saban. And then
I said when we hired, you don't hire a Pac-12 coach and expect him to come over and win in the SEC.
Woo!
The team wasn't ready, John. That was a joke. That team, I don't want to hear anything either about the talent. The team, it was a number 3 overall recruiting class.
My tangent is the ego is so large in college football with head coaches. They are killing young quarterbacks. Every single young quarterback that has an upside. So I got to see Alabama. I got to see, obviously, Texas with Arch Manning, most notably. He was brutal. Notre Dame last night with Lloyd Carr's grandson. They don't even let them do anything. It's 57 bubble screens, and it's brutal to watch. Number one.
No, you're right. It's not good development.
You take out the environment of college football, which is tremendous. It is an awful product to watch, and they are doing a disservice. So I hear all the time, and it's not their job. I don't blame them for that, because the NFL people seem to blame them. Because they always complain they're not ready to play. Well, it's not their job to make them ready to play in the NFL. Right. They have to win or they're going to lose their job. So I get it from that standpoint. But I don't get the egos of these guys. You should be teaching these players so they know how to process, they know how to play the position on the field, and that'll make you look better as a head coach if you can do that. Right. And by the way, you'd be out on an island because everybody does it the same way. Oh, I can't do this with this quarterback. Well, give it a shot. You might be surprised. It'll be better than you as the coach. But anyway, there's my tangent.
It's a good tangent. It's a good tangent, and I agree with it top to bottom.
And I'm sure Arch Manning will look great when they're playing Illinois Wesleyan or whoever's on their
Yeah,
schedule.
right.
Uh,
Really.
Yeah, but and that's where you got to be careful, because then you'll have all the wannabe scouts saying, "Oh, you look at what he could do," and you look at the competition, and that's why competition is important too. But anyway, there's my tangent. There's my Labor Day tangent.
No, it's a good tangent. John, coming into this game, though, for the Eagles, back to the Eagles for a sec. With the Eagles Cowboys, we'll have Jeff Kerr coming up in a little bit. So we'll talk to Jeff Kerr in preparation for this game. An abbreviated show today, guys. We'll go a little bit shorter today, and we will as well have a national football show in the afternoon. So looking forward to hearing from everybody today. It's game week, everybody. We've been waiting. I woke up this morning, I jumped out of bed ready to go, put on my Eagles hat. I'm ready to rock for game week. John, what's the plan of attack if you're the Eagles this week on this Cowboys defense? How do you think they will approach this game offensively speaking?
Well, I know this question is coming. You know what my answer is going to be, right? That to me is
whatever the team is giving you, I guess.
Yeah, that to me is the personality of the game. No, but I mean, the Eagles' offense is the Eagles' offense. It's been that way for 5 years, well, 4.5 years, and I think it's going to be. Well, this is So anyway, I'm doing wrong math, but you get my point. Since Nick has been here, it's the same offense.
Right.
Little bit of tweaks here and there. More reliant on the run game because Saquon's better than Miles Sanders was or DeAndre Swift was. So, I think you're going to see something very similar to what you're used to. And then it depends on what Dallas is doing defensively, what Dallas is doing well. Maybe one of the more interesting matchups, and I tried to get Nick to talk about it, but he wouldn't, of course. Matt Eberflus is the defensive coordinator now, and obviously those two are longtime friends, coached together in Indianapolis. So they know each other very well. Kind of knows his default settings. I think he was bad head coach, but I think he's a very, very good defensive coordinator. Comes from more of a, I would say, cover 2 mindset, but he did some different things in Chicago, which, and by the way, their defense was not bad. All their problems were on the other side of the football for the most part. So I think he's a good defensive coach. They'll certainly be better than they were last year when they had all the injuries, even without Micah Parsons. But yeah, I think the Eagles are going to be the Eagles, especially week 1 when you have so many unscouted looks and different coaches, different things. So they're going to rely on what they do well, and what they do well is take advantage of their offensive line and see if Kenny Clark makes a difference, because the
Kenny
Cowboys,
Clark's a good player. He should improve the interior significantly, but they did lose, obviously, Micah.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. They want to get better at stopping the run. That's probably directly related to being in the NFC East with the Eagles. But I mean, there's film out there with Kenny Clark with the Packers, and the Eagles took care of him pretty well. I think he was probably 3 or 4 years ago was a legit Pro Bowl player. Is probably still good, but probably descending. I still think the Eagles have the huge advantage there. So I think they're going to rely on what they do well, and that's play off the running game. And Jalen Hurts is part of that as well as the +1. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then play off it from there. And if that's not working, like the Super Bowl, then you shift. Then you shift.
John, I think the biggest advantage in this game for the Dallas Cowboys is that it's week 1, and there's an element of sloppiness and uncertainty involved in all week 1 NFL. Week 1, 2, and 3 nowadays with how the preseason has gone. But I think that's the biggest advantage for the Cowboys, is that you just sometimes week 1 you don't exactly know what to expect. I would say that is the biggest advantage for the Cowboys coming into this game, because they're certainly nowhere near as talented as the Eagles.
No, not Trevor Keegan. They picked up Trevor Keegan on waivers to get all the Eagles intel. So
yeah, they'll be.
I always get that when teams pick up players. So yeah, I don't think I'm joking, obviously, but Yeah, I mean, I do think the sloppy play, and you saw it last year. You see it around the league. It's not just the Eagles. That is the case. I think you'll see that. They're probably going to be, the Eagles are very heavily ball security conscious. I think it's more likely that they put the ball on the ground or there's a couple of interceptions. You remember Jalen Hurts in Brazil last year. So that to me is, I
think
think
we had
what,
3 turnovers and won the game last year, didn't we, in week 1?
yeah,
Yeah.
that to me, and there's probably 4 turnover worthy throws. That
Yeah,
was
that's right.
one of the worst games Jalen's ever played, to be honest, and they still won the game.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think from Nick's standpoint, that's probably because of what went on last year. Now, that's also a difficult spot going to Brazil, and you talk about uncertainty.
Yeah, that's
people
true.
are that trip, first ever trip, and all that kind of nonsense. So this game's at Lincoln Financial Field. I think everybody will be more comfortable, more focused, and you won't have a situation like that. But that's probably what you have to hope for with the Cowboys. Couple turnovers going the other way, and that'll shift things. And they have some good things. I mean, they're one of the best kickers in football, who can bang it through from 60 if need be, pretty consistently. They have, as Jalen, as he begged for the Cowboys question yesterday, they do have some playmakers on the back end, known for picking off the football.
Yep.
And we mentioned their receivers who are very talented. And then you have Dak Prescott back, who, I do point out is aging, and yes, he's probably overpaid, and yes, he shouldn't be in the conversation with some of the guys he's paid more than, and yada, yada, yada. But he's a hell of a lot better than Cooper Rush.
Yeah, that's right. He's competent. He can throw the football.
Yeah. Especially if he's clean. So,
I don't know if he's going to be clean, though. That's my question. Like that offensive line in Dallas, I think, is pretty shoddy. I mean, they're relying on a lot of guys to take steps forward.
Well, Tyler Smith's really good. Now, he's banged up. We're going to have John McMullen on tomorrow, the great Cowboys writer.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So we'll learn more about him tomorrow. Booker's interesting to me because he's a great college player and he tested poorly and seems to play well. So I know a lot of other people are concerned about the measurables and the testing, and because they're slaves to it. But, my estimate, he's pretty good on the field. So we'll see. And he's big and strong, which is rare for a rookie. Usually those guys have to get in the weight room to kind of catch up to the grown man strength, so to speak. BB's probably coming on. And then I would be more concerned about their tackles, but I think that's weakness versus weakness. Then you're talking about the Eagles' edge rushers. And that remains the most uncertain part of the Eagles team for me. I know a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's a knock on you, but it's one thing you were wrong about this offseason, man. You're like, they're not coming into week 1 with these as the edge, and they are.
Well, that's fine. People could spike the.
No, I'm not saying it to say that you're wrong. I'm just saying this is who they're coming in with, So the weakness that we thought might get corrected did not get corrected.
Well, not for a lack of trying. I'll just say that. So I know people aren't going to believe it until it happens, and that's fine, but not for a lack of trying.
No, I believe it. I mean, Howie's aggressive everywhere. Why would he not be aggressive at that edge?
So, I think that's a lot of people don't understand. I got a little bit of a gnat here. A lot of people don't understand that just because you want to do something, you get it done, even though over the weeks and months, you'll find out about things that the Eagles wanted to have happen, but didn't. That's the brilliance of the Eagles, really. That's the brilliance of Howie Roseman, because at any given time, whether it's the draft or whether it's personnel free agency, you're dealing with 31 other teams. So you have this mentality. Their whole mentality, Howie basically admitted, why'd you let Fred Johnson go? Well, 2 reasons. One, he wanted to have a chance to be a starter. because he wasn't going to be a starter here.
Right.
And two, they thought really over the past 2 years, because of the way the draft board was coming in, and if you go all the way back to the reports of the top 30 visits, it was offensive lineman, offensive lineman, offensive lineman.
Right.
They
Yeah,
thought
we talked about it.
They thought they were getting a young tackle to prepare for the eventuality of Lane Johnson retiring. Over the past 2 years, they thought it was going to shake out that way, and it didn't. And then you have to morph, and you have to go where the board takes you. In the case this year, it was all Jahad Campbell as he started to fall. So if Jahad Campbell didn't fall, like, I think Josh Connerly would be here.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Washington obviously took him. And
Washington took him what, like 2 spots before us, or 1 spot before, a couple spots before us?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact spot, but I think they would have moved up. I think they would have done what they had to do to get him.
I think he was like 30 or 29.
He was 29th.
29th.
So
we were 31st with Campbell, right? Yep.
I think he would have been the guy, not as high. They wouldn't have, not obviously the Eagles didn't go that high, but they tried to go up high. They tried to go up at 22 was the first spot that I know of. And I've heard people say they want to go up higher than that, which I have not confirmed, but I confirmed they tried to get up to 22. So that's as high as they were trying to get up to get Campbell. With Connerly, I don't think they would have tried to go up that high.
No, probably would have tried to jump Washington, right?
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, just because something doesn't happen doesn't mean you weren't trying to make it happen. In the case of edge rusher, and look, I still think one's coming at some point.
Yeah.
Closer to the trade deadline. But that's all dependent. The luxury of playing time is same thing with Adoree Jackson, same thing with Sidney Brown. The luxury of playing time is if you play well, you can shut down all those narratives.
Is there any outside chance right now, John, that Keely Ringo is this year's Nakobe Dean, or Adoree is this year's Devin White, maybe would put it better, and week 1 rolls out and out comes Keely Ringo? Is there any chance in your mind that could happen?
Not Keely, Jakorian. I think there's a slight chance.
So Keely's I think Keely was the guy who everyone wanted, so it's less significant for me if it's Jakorian.
Yeah, I think that's more likely for Jakorian. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if snap 1 defensively, if Jakorian Bennett's out there. I'm talking by, I expect it to be Adoree Jackson, but I wouldn't be bowled over by if it were just Jakorian. I would be bowled over if it were Gailey.
Yeah,
at this stage.
Me too, for sure. I just wanted to see if there was any outside thought or if you saw anything at practice. John, they're back on the practice field today, and then tomorrow, walk through Wednesday. Game day Thursday, everybody. Get ready to go.